one thing that defines me that is absolutely furry is the people I know. The people I know in the fandom. They're extraordinarily furry. Furry is all about, well, this is what I define furry to be. First off, you're only furry if you say you're furry. If you don't say you're furry, then you probably don't know what furry is or don't care to be involved with those are furries. But if you're furry, more than likely, I'd say more than likely, you have some people that come from different backgrounds or unconventional backgrounds. And so we have different gender identities, different sexual orientations, different races, backgrounds, income levels. Everything is different about us. The animals we associate with are different. That's one of the things that really ties us together, is that we're not all the same animal. And even if we are, we're different species, different colorings, different varieties. We're just a variety of life, right? So you think, yeah. So in high school or middle school or whatever school you went to, you probably hung out with some people that are like you in some respect. I'd say if you are come from a certain culture, it's very much, if you come from a certain culture, it's way easier to relate to someone who shares that culture with you. You don't have to be asked a ton of questions. You don't have to explain why you do something a certain way. But aside from culture, there's just habits, right? There's habits that people form that can be comforting, depending on who you are and how you function. So I'd say that one special thing about furries, or a lot of in nerd culture in general, you'll find that a lot of people are just understanding. Of course, this exempts I would say this exempts the outliers where something that you don't understand is malicious. But of course, if something you do on a general, everyday basis just makes people confused, you're also going to feel a little confused or maybe a little unsettled. So, despite me being, I'd say, pretty average, average height, average everything really, there's nothing extraordinarily different about me, except maybe, some of the things that I aspire to do. But if you really want to get to know someone that is different from you, the best way to do it is to just be accepting. You don't have to question everything. You can form bonds over similarities, and then once you know someone well enough, you can talk about differences. And believe me, a lot of people have similarities, a lot more than you might think. So what is this video about? I'm trying to bring together that a lot of people I've noticed, I feel like I've noticed, I don't know about you, or what social media you use, or what conventions you've attended, but there's always going to be someone who doesn't really know how to make friends. And it's easy to get caught up with people that probably aren't the best for you in the long run. And so I'm here to talk about how to make friends. Right? So we can make friends in different ways. And I've gone through a unique path. No one has made the same friends I have in the same way. So this is just advice coming from my personal experience. But I would have to say, you start making friends by just being friendly. It's kind of a strange concept. You'll see certain friend groups that joke with each other a lot, or they don't have to be the nicest people to each other, because they understand each other, their strengths and their weakness of their friends. They're always there for them, so they can talk about these things that are maybe more uncomfortable to friends that have just met. So even if you're not, I guess, by nature a friendly person, I think it's a skill to have, to be able to approach someone without bias and just with good intentions, with a heart that says, I'm willing to listen. I think that's number one. Just being able to say, I'm willing to listen to you can go so far. You don't have to say, I'm willing to listen. But if someone is maybe more reserved, or maybe they have something that's really concerning them, something that they've warmed up to you to talk about, then I would highly suggest that you give them the platform to speak their mind. Even if you have many interjections in your head, like, you can reserve them, you can keep them and think about them on your own, and come back to them when you're more comfortable. But if they're willing to talk to you and listen, it doesn't have to be a sensitive subject either. It could just mean a lot to someone, whatever they're talking about. It could be maybe an intense passion or a desire, or maybe they do have a problem and they go to you. They're willing to go to you. That's I'd say that's more respect than going to you for a favor. Like, anyone can go to someone for a favor, because everyone's capable of doing things like, can you help me take my luggage up to the con room, or what's another favor? If you wanted to tag along or pay for a meal, that's a favor, right? Maybe you didn't bring your wallet with you and you'll pay someone back. So those are favors, but they don't grow bonds in the same way. So you'll have these bonds with friends. Yeah, you'll know that they're a reliable person. I'd say that is the foundation for a good friend, because of course you wouldn't want someone unreliable, or someone who's only there when it's convenient for them. But I feel like a friendship really grows when the person who has something very deep down, like something that is defining them, or their feelings, if it's defining their feelings and they're able to express it to you openly, unhindered, if they can express their feelings to you unhindered, then I feel like that's how friendship bonds grow. It doesn't mean you have to take every day and be like, okay, tell me what's on your mind, what's going on. It just means that when the time comes, when something is of importance to discuss, when either party says, listen, there's a scolding parent, hey, listen, don't do that. But there's the, listen, I have something important that I need to get off my chest. And it could be about themselves, it could be about others they're with, it could be about you, the person who's listening. But I'd say friendship starts with listening. Not just friendship, just communication starts with listening. I would say I'm tying this into friendship because listening is, the fundamental part of communication. Right? Anyone can speak, but if two people are speaking to each other, maybe essentially venting with no understanding or validation response of like, yes, I processed what you're feeling. And if there was no empathy involved, it's just like, oh, whatever, I'll get over it. Or if you respond with, hey, dude, that sucks. Or, no. If you say, like, so, dude, that sucks, is actually expressing empathy. Saying, dude, my ex suffered from this other thing, this other unrelated thing. Then both of you guys are venting, but are you actually empathizing? Like, is one person saying, this is how I feel, the other person completely bypasses that, yes, I understand that feeling, with expressing another frustration, an unrelated frustration. I don't think that that's the best way to handle that. I think it's great to be able to express these frustrations, but if neither party is listening or taking a considerable effort to listen, then you'll have this feeling, this sort of empty feeling that you're never heard. And this can go on for a while without either of you noticing. But eventually you could just be frustrated, and the other person will never try to connect with your frustration. And I'm talking about frustration a lot because it's a very important piece of you to be able to express. But I also mean things about your hobbies, your interests, your long-term and short-term goals. If you can define these and have other people understand you, listen to you, and see what you're going through, see your struggle, or see your passion, then these are the people you want to surround yourself with. Now, a weekend at a con, that might be a little bit too short to really form a long-term friendship, but it's the great beginning of one. So, cons, yeah, not gonna happen anytime soon. But let's say, for example, you're on a Discord channel, or you're on a group of some sort, a Telegram group. I don't suggest making friends in Telegram groups over 10 people, hundreds. It just gets messy. It's good to be able to discuss some things, or be able to talk about what other people are talking about, or maybe bring up a subject and have other people comment on it. But I wouldn't say it's the best way to form friendship. And I think the absolute best way to form friendship is not in a friend group, but a one-on-one communication where you have a heart-to-heart. Like your actual feelings can be heard. So imagine this scenario. You're with your friend group, 3 or 4 people. Let's say 4 people. Let's start with 4 people. If everyone's speaking equally, which is usually not the case, if everyone's speaking equally and being heard equally, everyone gets heard 1/4 of the time, or 25%. But that's very, very infrequently the case. It's usually one person who has dominance over the friend group and makes the larger choices, and they're sort of the person that everyone else in the group looks up to. So at best, the most quiet person in the group, if given they're always hanging out together, might not even have 25% of verbal real estate, so to say. They might have half of that. They might have less than half of that. They might have less than 10%. They might have less than 1/10 of all the conversation of them speaking. And they could be the guy that always sits in the back seat, who maybe orders, like one taco when they go out to eat together. the person that you just expect to be okay because they don't complain, that person is not able to express themselves. And it's not because they can't or you're doing something wrong. It's just that there's no one-on-one communication. It's really important to be able to reach out to that person, to really understand them as a person. So I wouldn't say I struggle with that lately, but naturally there's going to be people who don't feel comfortable just speaking freely and openly. And maybe you're one of those people and you wonder like, why can't I make friends? Or like, why is it hard for me? And maybe you're just not in the right setting for a friendship to grow. So I know this video was about how to make friends, but I think I should probably retitle it how to maintain and keep up with friends. Because, there's a million ways to start talking to someone, but this isn't about that. Your social skills will come with experience and age and being able to open up to someone. Yes, that's a significant challenge, but I think what's even more challenging is to be able to, water your plants or water your friends as if they were plants and keep them alive, keep them in the sunlight and the shade. And, if you have a bunch of plants cluttered together, they're gonna compete. If you have tall trees in the forest, only the tallest will survive because the shorter ones won't get any sunlight. You have to be able to provide sunlight from all angles and allow your friendships to grow. And you have to understand that there are people in this world that will encourage your growth. Not just to be there to vent, not just to be there to share one interest, but these are friends that are involved with your life. These are friends that want to see the best in you and know that you can be better. They expect you to be able to be better. And that's why you're friends. So you can hang out. You can talk about whatever drama happened last weekend. But if you can't talk about yourself or the bond you have together or where you both want to go, your goals, and I do encourage all of you to have goals of some sort. They can be anything, really. Goals are endless. Just have a goal. It's really good for you. But anyway, having a friend that wants to see you grow won't just allow both of you to grow as individuals, but it'll allow you to grow together. And I think that's what I define to be an important factor in a relationship or in a friendship. Relationships too, don't get me wrong. But so let's break it into some steps, I guess. So I started with a friendship. What is a friendship? A friendship is two people who are familiar with each other, they're comfortable with each other, and they can express to each other their feelings, thoughts, and they can listen to each other. So I gave the example earlier about a friend group and how everyone's always together and there might be a quiet person. If you, as an individual, reach out to that quiet person, they'll not have that 10% of verbal real estate. They'll be able to have 50% or maybe even more depending on the conversation. Imagine someone who's very quiet, who's able to speak up and just have all of their thoughts spill out, well, within reason. Let them know if they're going too far. And again, just be there for them. Sometimes you have some backed up emotions if you don't speak much. And it's really great to hear that. It's really great to verify that they're alive and well, or if they're not well, you're there for them. That's a great thing about friendship. So number one, listen. It doesn't take much from a person to be able to just talk and talk and talk without any thought of who's listening. But when you consider who's listening, that's how you grow the conversation into, I'd say, an expansive direction rather than a linear direction, right? If you're expanding the conversation, you're reaching out into relevant parts and connecting the dots and seeing the whole thing as a puzzle. It doesn't even have to be a complicated conversation. But if you understand that each person has their insight that can add on to it and grow layers to the conversation, then it's more meaningful. And the more meaningful a connection you have with someone is, the more meaningful the connection that you have with someone, the more meaningful your friendship. And I'm not saying it's wrong to share memes like the majority of the time. That could be how you connect in some ways. But what I'm trying to say is that if you want to take your friendship to another level, to where your heart sort of branches out in different directions to other people, to other furries, to anyone really, it's important to listen. The reason I talk about this in the furry fandom is that there's a lot of people in the furry fandom who are willing to listen, who are not going to judge you on your background, your orientation, your identity. There's so many people who have understood a struggle similar to yours, and they're willing to listen. Now, I could say for certain groups in other cultures or other communities, this is the same. But as a furry, I have to say there's people that are willing to listen, and they've listened to me. They've listened to me so much, and I've listened to them. So if you want to grow a friendship, I'd say number one, listen to someone who values you and your time and is willing to reach out to you for any reason. If you're able to listen to them, I feel like they'll be more likely to listen to you. But they also have to know that friendship is based off communication. And communication starts with listening. So yeah. I guess I have to say thanks to all my friends who have made furry such a wonderful experience. It's really hard to begin. Where should I start? Which friend should I mention first or last? I think I'll make another video on that. I can talk about what I value in my friends and why I cherish them so much. And if you didn't know I cherish you, I do. Because I wouldn't be who I am today without the experiences and interactions I've had with everyone. So, thank you for watching. This has been a subject on friendship in the furry fandom, or in general, specifically in the furry fandom, because people are accepting, they're willing to listen to you. And all I have to say is, if you like this content, please like it. If you liked it, then you might see similar content. And I would also suggest that you subscribe, because that's the best way to support a channel, and you'll be notified if I come out with other videos. So thank you so much for sticking around. Any comments or feedback is greatly appreciated, because I'm just starting this off, and I might throw some links in the description on the subject, or who knows? I'll get in the groove of things. With your help, of course. So, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!